Hey, welcome to the Reflection Connection podcast. I'm your producer, Rashad. We got David up there in the top left. We got Oscar over there in the top right, and we got Phil over in the bottom right. Say what's up, fellas.
What's up? What's going on, world?
Hey,
young world.
Hey, yo, this is going to be episode 2 of the podcast. I appreciate the views. A couple of y'all stop by and everything. So, I mean, go ahead and hit that subscribe button while y'all there. It's free. You know, everybody love free stuff. I mean, if you a socialist like myself, I'm joking. I'm already starting up. All right, so check it out. We got some good topics today, y'all. Our first topic will be is systemic racism the biggest problem in the black community? And I see Oscar flexing the Astros cup. What up? I got my jersey on. So,
yeah.
Hey, who wants to go first on that topic? Anybody?
Volunteers?
I go. Not everybody all at once.
Dave, you gonna go?
I go. Is systemic racism the biggest problem in the African American community? No, it's not. It's a problem, but not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the cultural belief system. I'm trying to use the most accurate words here. I think the biggest problem is the cultural belief system with African American in this country. They choose to want to believe certain things. Certain belief systems that pass down from parents to children. Children grow up, they pass them back down to their children, and so on and so on. And certain things like things that happen in history with their ancestors, like slavery, can having to feel.
I think we.
Yeah, just keep going. We lost Phil.
Okay, certain things can be, certain things like slavery, the understanding that they have with slavery can make them feel a certain way, bitter or whatever, and it can make them want to blame white folks, and it can make them believe that that's their biggest problem, when really I think it's just themselves. So that's my take on it.
I want to piggyback off of what David said. Culture to me is the number one. Number two would be personal accountability. Our culture, you listen to the music and all that type of stuff or whatever. I think we're probably one of the only cultures that actually tears down in our music across everywhere you go. The black music or whatever tears down the black community. You go to any other community, you don't hear them really saying a lot of the things that they say. And if they do, whatever they say is not like the mainstream. Our mainstream music tears us down. Our mainstream things that we promote or whatever tears down the black community or whatever on a mass scale or whatever. So culture, I would say, would be number one. Number two would be personal accountability. So we have to kind of start checking people. We have to stop glorifying a lot of the bad things that we do in our communities, because that right there is going to keep us in the same position that we are in, and other cultures will look at our music, look at the way we carry ourselves out in public, and that's the way they're going to look at us. So those two would be mine: culture and personal accountability.
All right. Phil, you got something to say? Oh, Phil.
We can't hear you. We lost you again, Phil. We lost you. We got
the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right, we were having some technical difficulties. Once again, we new to this, guys, so just bear with us, and we promise we're gonna make this entertaining. Our boy Phil, he's on Wi-Fi, and so he was cutting out a little bit. We're gonna get that right. But
I'm on Wi-Fi too, but we'll have it fixed next week.
yeah. So I mean, he might pop back in, and when he pops back in, we'll get what he has to say about this take. But I guess I will just go ahead and do my take on the matter, and I'm not gonna do no fancy fade ins like I did with Dave and Oscar. So I'll just be in the top right corner. So systemic racism is the biggest problem for the Black community. I want to say it is not the biggest problem. It is a problem, but I think it's up there. You know what I mean? It's not something, because it is the system. It's not something that we could just always overcome. I mean, a lot of it we don't even know the racism that's been directed towards our people, because for one, I mean, hell, like states like Florida, you're not even allowed to teach that anymore. So it seems like sometimes that we can overcome the what's holding us back. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm poor by any means. I don't think any of us are wanting, but there are a lot of like we could be the exception and not the rule. So I don't want to just make that judgment right off the bat. So for instance, I learned one of the major reasons why the United States of America is the only major country without universal health care is literally they didn't want Black people to have it. Like, it was proposed by 3 separate presidents in the past, and it had a lot of support that it should have been passed. But when the opposition said, well, you know, that means you'd have to give Black people health care, like, they scrapped the whole thing. Like, they would rather people just die unnecessarily or go bankrupt necessarily just for the simple fact that they didn't want Black people to have health care. And that's baked in, and it's one of those foundational things, right? Like, you might have a house, you might have a leaky pipes or a gas pipe that's leaking gas into the house, and I would say that would be your biggest immediate problems, and that's what culture is to us. That's more of our immediate problem. But if the foundation of the house is cracked and flawed, then no matter how good you build that house, your foundation is cracked and flawed. So that's how you get rich people, rich Black people that have made it out of the hood. They pull their pants up. They don't speak with a hood vernacular, but they still get unjustly arrested because they were mistaken for someone else. Or so that's what I'm saying. It's not the most immediate problem, but we ain't gonna never be able to get right as a people with the systemic racism baked into the cake. Any thoughts on that?
I would say that's well put, because like it all started with the systemic racism, and then it kind of trickled down. Now I think it permeates even more, because once it trickled down to us, instead of us trying to do other things to get out of it, our culture and our accountability keeps us in that. So once we even do get out of it, I would still say, yeah, we still have to face those issues that have been presented with systemic racism. But I feel like if we can at least get our culture right and get our personal accountability and stop and, you know, kind of pull our boots up and stuff, pull our pants up and get out of the hood too, or that hood mentality, I think we'll go a lot farther than if we just sit there and just, like some people just blame, oh, it's the system that's keeping me back. I think if we at least get past that part, we can start really facing the bigger issues of systemic racism. But until we clean up our own culture, because I don't think any other culture is going to come in and clean up our culture. We got to do that from within ourselves, and then we can start addressing the bigger issues of systemic racism. So yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was gonna say too. So, but anyway, let me just try to say something parallel, because that's the same point. I see the source of the problem with Black folks is themselves. The source of a problem with any human being on this planet is themselves. If, for example, if you are a person who's fine with robbing somebody, like, that's your opinion, not that you did it, but you're okay with it, it only means that you're likely to do it because you're fine with it. If everybody had the same mind state a mind frame or whatever, where they was like, okay, stealing is wrong. Then we won't have, like, let's say, like right now, currently what's going on is a trend, which is a bad trend. They got mass shoplifting with, like, and the groups that tend to do these mass shopliftings are ethnic people, particularly Black people. Which, if you got complaints about white men and the white folks oppressing you, damn, you really ain't helping your case by the actions that you're doing with these mass shoplifting. If you're one of those people who particularly partake in that. And so you have to have better principles, and it's just human beings in general or whatever, just better principles. If you don't want to get murdered, don't try to murder nobody. If you don't want to steal, if you don't want nobody to steal from you, don't steal from nobody else. And if everybody literally or globally had that same state of mind, it wouldn't be no murders. It wouldn't be no stealing. It wouldn't be none of that, because everybody is against that, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to not participate in that. And that's basically the issue that I see with the issue I see with Black people is they could try to claim systemic racism. It's there, it's out there. That's why I said it is a problem, but it definitely ain't the main problem. If you could actually win some people over who have a predisposition to judge you the wrong way. Like, let's say a particular white racist person that somebody would consider racist, if they look at you, let's say if you're a Black person walking down the street, they may assume that you're a criminal. But if you interacted with them in a intelligent way, peaceful way, kind way, that could change their mind from them thinking that way, being racist or whatever. Because everybody, humans ain't perfect. Everybody has they think with their emotions at times. Sometimes they don't think as logically as they can. But you can help people get into a better way of thinking just by your actions being logical actions or whatever. And so that can actually become contagious if everybody thought that way. But anyway, that's my take on it.
I see what you're saying, but it feels like you're giving people a pass for just being racist and stereotyping in the first place. Like, it's our fault that they're being racist and stereotype. Like,
I don't know how you got what I said is me giving them a pass. I said racism is out there. Of course it's wrong. Any kind of oppression is wrong. Any kind of hate is wrong. But you start with the individual. Like, for example, us three. If you just told me and Oscar and you lived up to this and you say, I'm not gonna hate or discriminate on any race. Now we know that you will never be a person who will ever pass a policy that's gonna hurt somebody else. You'll never do anything that'll hurt somebody else. And me and Oscar, if we follow suit with that same mindset, we will be better people. And then if everybody just kept doing that, racism will be eradicated because people will have a better understanding of how they're supposed to think.
I get it. But what I meant by what I was saying is, it's like you're making it my responsibility to ease the stranger's racism or him being stereotyped. Like, if a stranger walked towards me, he's going to be apprehensive, and it's up to me to speak properly and to treat him nicely for him to not judge me according to my race.
You don't know what a stranger's, not to cut you off, but you don't know what a stranger is thinking. You just need to be a logical thinking person. Pursue that. That's what every human being should do. Just pursue being logical in every way, because there is a logical way for everything or whatever. And so just be a peaceful, kind person. So if you walking down the street and you see a white person, you don't gotta, for example, pretend to be something you're not. Maybe that's what you should be. If you're not logical in disposition, maybe that's what you should be, because you would be the problem if you all of a sudden just act like this. Let's say this white person who's actually let's say they're actually a logical thinking person. You may be the one who creating the problem because your disposition is to just naturally feel that they have an issue with you. And so I think the burden should be on every individual is to pursue logical means of interacting with other human beings. Be peaceful, be intelligent, be coherent, be stuff like that, and it will iron out the wrinkles, so to speak, in society. Wrinkles meaning other potential problems that affect other people. That will help, And so, yeah, and that's at least what any individual can start with. Is themselves.
Okay. I mean, I definitely get the hold up. Say something again, Dave.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. All right.
Mic check, mic check.
Okay. I definitely get the personal responsibility to be a good person, right? I definitely get that. But I know as myself, like, I've never been handcuffed. I've never been to jail. I pay my taxes. I've had a job ever since I've been out of the house. You know what I mean? And like, when people hear me speak, they be like, wow, you're the whitest black guy I've ever talked to. I get that a lot, but I'll still get judged just by my appearance. And there's nothing I can do. I think I've done everything to check those boxes of being a good human being. And people will still judge me and treat me differently because of my appearance. And I think what it is we're humans, so we're tribal. Humans are a very tribal species. And we're also lazy thinkers. I've heard of a stat that, like, most human beings don't even have but 2 or 3 original thoughts throughout the day. So if you're programmed to think that black people are thugs and are on welfare and are out to steal your money every time you see them, then you're going to treat them as such. And I think that's the issue that I was trying to get at, is that there's a narrative that, I mean, we could try to change it, but I don't even think most black people, even in the hood, are thugs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just think squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah. I would say, like, racism is inherently in everybody to some extent. But when I look at our culture, like, you look at other cultures and stuff like that, think of the hood Jewish song you heard. Can you even think of one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Because I'm like, I can't think of any. I can't really even think of any, like, a hood white song.
They're not big in America, but if you go to different countries, like like, hip hop is the #1 music genre of music around the world now. There's Polish hood rap, there's Russian hood rap, there's, like, they've embraced that. We're poor, we do bad things to get by. But like I said, I don't think that's most people. Even most black people. Most black people just want to feed their kids. Or if they ain't got kids, they just want to go on vacations to Brazil.
The Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Most human beings are, by disposition, mental disposition, are peaceful.
Yeah.
And afraid. They're scared. But it's the fact that they're afraid. They don't tend to stand up to tyranny, and this is why tyranny tends to dominate and seem to be the more powerful moving force in a society. So, for example, if you knew, this is an example, I've seen this throughout the years when at working, even in the military. If you knew somebody was a good worker, but the supervisor was an asshole, like literally said illogical shit, was an actual asshole, and he said he gonna fire this person, and you knew this person was innocent, most of this person's coworkers ain't gonna do nothing to help keep this person's job. They just gonna stand aside and allow this dude to get fired by an asshole, oppressive supervisor. And that's just an example of how it is in society. This is how Hitler became Hitler and tried to fucking take over the whole world, because most people who are kind who try to be peaceful are not brave enough to stand up to the tyranny and oppression. And so going back to this to when black people looking at white people as being the bigger problem, it's not white people. Oh shit, something in my eye. It's not white people being the bigger problem. That's an easy scapegoat for them to continue what they love already. So, for example, if I already know if I had an audience of black folks, they'll be like, "Nigga, I don't love crime. I don't love this." I'm like, well, we still see it happening. So it's clear that the person who's doing it, he may not say he love it, but he out there doing it. And then everybody want to justify their reason. They want to go, "Oh, I'm only robbing banks or robbing liquor stores to feed my family." That's not really the truth. If we could actually do an investigation, you really ain't doing that to feed your family. You're doing that because you bored as fuck, and you really don't have care for nothing. You don't really have no other values in the world, so you're gonna continue what you're doing. And anytime somebody try to tell you you're wrong, you're gonna try to tell them from your logical standpoint, which is not likely logical, that you're doing it for a logical reason. And so like this is why black folks still hold this whole racism thing as far as our slave ancestors being oppressed, that it's still going on, and it's the main problem with black folks, which I don't think so. The main problem with black folks is themselves. And I'm not talking about the peaceful black folks, the logical ones. I'm obviously talking about the ones who creating a ruckus around society.
That affects the peaceful black folks. You know what I mean?
Well, of course it does. Yeah, it affects everybody. Them doing what they doing.
And I like examples of systemic racism. Like when I say systemic racism, I'm not talking about a person being racist towards me. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about Jim Bob calling me the N-word. That's not systemic racism.
Yeah, I get you. The way things are structured in society on purpose by white folks or European people,
right? Like
whoever's dominating society.
Why is marijuana illegal?
Well, it should be illegal in my opinion, but anyway.
But I mean, why is marijuana illegal and beer and alcohol legal?
Right, I get what you're saying, Shaw. It could be because certain people who can pull these strings or have power to make some of these things legit, legal or not legal, could have an excuse, or part of the excuse could be because they don't like black folks. It could be that.
Well,
but
I would show you. Basically, it's two parts. There was hemp used to be one of the biggest products sold in America, and the paper companies, I should say, saw a way that paper can be what we write on. It used to be hemp, by the way. Hemp used to be what people used to write on, and so the paper companies started lobbying, and the America's first drug czar was basically like, hey, for one, it wasn't even called marijuana. Like, he made up that name. It was just cannabis. And he made up the name because it sounded foreign. It sounded, Mexican, basically. It sounded foreign. And his excuse was, we need to make this illegal because what's going on is white people are going down to the ghetto or to the black neighborhoods, and they're sleeping with black people. And the presidents and the people in charge were like, yeah, we can't have that happening. So that's what I mean by systemic. Like, there are laws today that are on the books that have deep roots in racism. HOAs.
Same thing with
homeowner associations. Like, people don't realize that homeowner associations came by because when whites were owning houses, they didn't want their kids, or they didn't want people in their neighborhood selling their houses to black people. So they formed homeowner associations just so they can have it like a contract between you and your neighbors, basically stating, hey, if I buy a house in this neighborhood, you have to agree that you will never sell your house to a black person. And they would put that in their wills too. I might die, but you could never sell this house to a black person. And so that's why all these that's how hoods were formed, basically. They would.
Yeah, but that's.
So, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Austin.
Well, I was going to ask a question. So, why do y'all think there's such a negative stigma on the black community?
Because they acting, the ones that's acting a fool, they acting a fool, not the peaceful.
But this
But
happened
for the
before
black communities is like
hip hop, though.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
Well, I'm just making a point to Oscar. I think his question is separate from your point you was just making. To speak on your point, yes, of course, systemic racism is still going on. So I'm completely aware, like you are, that that's just you just got hateful people. But to Oscar's point, you still just got ignorant, fucking illogical people who want to just do dumb shit, but they feel it's justified. Obviously, if you tell any person right now, it don't even matter if they black or white, that they doing something wrong, they will not likely be inclined to say, "Oh, my bad." They'll try to have some justified reason, some explanation because nobody likes to be wrong. And of course, there's plenty of people that's wrong in the world or whatever. But yeah.
I honestly think it's got a lot more to do with America's capitalist hustle culture. So, you know, you got billionaires that made billions the wrong way, stealing and theft, but we celebrate them. We say, oh, they made it. That's success. That's achievement. Get it no matter how you can. That's that hustle culture. If you see a drug dealer in the neighborhood, and kids see this, right? It's not that I like that they're doing illegal things. They respect the end game. They respect the cars. They respect the jewelry. They respect the status that they get. And I mean, if they got that from, hacking the U.S. government, they still would respect it. It don't matter that they're stealing or doing bad things. It's just they see the end goals.
That's just a thing that is if the symptom of a larger problem is that, let's say, black folks are still mad at the ongoing systemic racism. Capitalism and certain aspects of society only amplify the symptom or whatever. So they can use that as justification for why they go and, let's say, mob shoplift. Man, we can't look at the rich people. They're taking all. They look how expensive this is. You know what? I think it's our right to just come in here and take it. Either way, it's all illogical. You stand up to what's wrong, but you don't become a contributing factor to that issue. And it's a lot of people in this country do that. They actually do that.
Okay. We're going to have to end it on that one. I think that was good topic, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with the applause.
He'll say he come back. He could come back for the last topic, because we haven't even spoke about the last topic.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and introduce this last topic, and then we'll start speaking on it. And if Phil pops in, we'll catch him up that way. I know he's got about 14 minutes. So, all right. So the next topic. Like I said, that was a good topic, guys. I appreciate it. Next topic will be should DNA testing be mandatory after the birth of child? Anybody want to go first?
I'm going to say, I'll go first. I say, yes, it should be. Also, I don't think, I'm going to add this to that. I don't think you should be able to sign a birth certificate until till paternity has been established. I don't think you should be held responsible for taking care of anything that's not legally yours unless you choose to. So right now you can be legally held responsible for taking care of somebody else's kid because you signed that birth certificate. So I feel like if you're actually signing that birth certificate, it should be a law. Like if you find out later that you're not the father, that you should be taken off, but you usually have to fight just to get that responsibility taken off of you because you signed the birth certificate. So I feel like if you actually start making people have a DNA test as soon as the baby's born, they can test that father or whoever you think the father is. They know firsthand, hey, you either are or you're not. So I think it should be mandatory. I think it will stop a lot of the confusion that's out here in these streets. So yes, I definitely think it needs to be mandatory.
I don't know nothing about no streets, man. You the street expert on that one.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to go?
Yeah. Okay, so I differ in what Oscar say. At least to specifically, I don't think it should be mandatory DNA testing, because there's there's a lot of a gray area when it comes to people's personal lives. So let me give you an example. Let's say a dude is messing with a chick, but no one knows about this dude and this chick is messing around, like the public. No one knows. The family members don't know. Nobody really knows. It's a lot of people who got like secretive like lives. But yeah, they messing around. So let's say the chick get pregnant. So the dude was only messing with her for his whatever his reasons were. We'll just say his reasons wasn't enough for him to say he want to be the father of that potential baby. And let's say he also thought that she wasn't just sleeping with him; she was probably sleeping with other people. He have his mind made up on how he understands who she is. She have her mind made up. So she get pregnant though. That's the reality. But he's looking at it like, well, it might not be mine. Yeah, I know I've been fucking her, but it might not be mine. So I'm not gonna claim the baby. I don't even want a baby. So if the way Oscar see it, if it went into effect like that, then he would be forced to go and do a DNA test. Now the question is, who is gonna pay for it? Now, if the state provided, if the state provides the free DNA testing,
it should be free and provided by the state. Yeah.
Okay. So then, if that's the case, Phil coming.
Oh.
Then that's fine. Then I'm in agreement with Oscar. Then it should be, but it's only when the woman. This is how, to be more specific, Phil's back. Can you hear us, Phil?
Yeah, man, loud and clear. What about y'all?
Oh, we got you, Crystal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. We still gotta let Phil give his take on the first topic. If we can push back the time. I don't think everybody that fucking
he froze
got something that strong to do. Well, okay, so you'll be able to speak on our previous topic, Phil, and this one. But let me finish my point. Okay, so to be more specific, if the girl claims, Dave, all she gotta do is make one claim.
You're really dark now.
Oh yeah, my bad.
All right.
I'm just trying to get real comfortable in my chat. Okay, all the girl have to do, the pregnant woman has to claim one guy as being the father. She got to say, he is the father. Not I think he is the father. So then he basically get a kind of like a summons by the court or whatever. Well, you got to go and do this free DNA test. He go and get it done for free. They pay for everything, so he shouldn't have no expense. It should be no expense for him. Okay, so then let's say he's not the father. At this point, there's other potential problems because she could still be trying to find who the father is, and then now she got a gang of dudes that she think is the father going up to do free DNA tests, which I think will become a problem because there'll be a lot of dudes going, wait, hold up, man, this girl don't really know who the father is. Y'all can't. It got to be a cutoff point. Meaning she got to have a certain amount of claims on who the father is. And then after that, it's just she's a single parent. Don't put the father on the birth certificate. So I would say the cutoff, the threshold would be 2 guys. If she can't figure out who the father is out of claiming 2 guys as being the father, after that, she's just a single mother on the birth certificate.
You better than me because I would have to cut off at one guy, whichever guy she think is the father. If she go and get a DNA test on that guy and he not the father, the next one she got to pay for. Because that way, like, that'll hold her accountable because if she had sex with that many people and she don't know who the father is, she going to either be more responsible because she don't want to look like a fool when she go do that DNA test and he not the father. Now you got to pay for all the rest of them because it was more than one dude could have been the father or whatnot. So I feel like that will actually hold her a little bit more accountable because let's be honest.
I agree.
If a girl get pregnant, she know it could be this dude, or whoever it could be or whatever. So she needs to have a little bit more responsibility. Plus, she's the birth giver, so she knows that it could be this dude. We don't know. We sitting there going like, man, it might not be me. It might be me. So she has more information than what we have. So I think she should be held more responsible for situations like this. So if you put that, make it mandatory, and when she had that baby, and like she says, hey, I think he's the father. And they find out that he's not, she gonna look like a clown. And if more and more women start going, okay, wait a minute, I might look like a clown because I don't know who the baby daddy is, I think that will also change people just having sex with a bunch of different people and then having a baby and trying to put a baby over here, put a baby over there. It'll kind of slow it down a little bit. At least
let me say one more thing. Well, let me say one more thing, then you go feel the short. Okay, I agree with you. Like at least 95%. The only specifics that's different is I still think it should be two. She have the right to claim two baby daddies, and it'll be free. The third one, if she try to claim the third one, she should have to pay. So that's mine. Well, I'm giving
I'm giving a 1. If you don't know where your
Yeah.
box been, you don't know who the father of your child is. That's kind of crazy looking to me. You know,
it can happen though. You know,
Agreed.
it's
I like
it
that.
happens all the time. That's the
I
issue.
like that this topic kind of ties into our last topic where there was the sentiment of cultural responsibility and accountability. I think that is a great aspect of us developing a certain sense of culture in our responsibility for childbearing and child rearing. I would agree with Oscar. I think that it should be one. I think that what's crazy is you hear oftentimes. I don't know if y'all watch like the Paternity Court or anything like that, or even with the aspect of these new abortion laws that came up that brought out a lot of women's responses of as far as the time that they had the ability to get an abortion, if they had the ability to get an abortion, where they argued, I didn't even know sometimes I wouldn't even know I was pregnant within 6 weeks, which means, not only are you not really aware of your self health, but also in that sense, you could have multiple partners and not know, in often cases, who, because this is a behavior, and it's not a behavior that just happens. It's a behavior. This is what they do weekend to weekend. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm just generalizing the women that do. Anybody want to get their panties in a bunch? I'm generalizing the women that do engage in this type of behavior. Yeah,
the women are gonna be. What you trying to say, Phil? That's what the women gonna be saying.
I mean, I said what I meant what I say. But yeah, I think it should be mandatory. I think that it isn't, because just like the welfare and child custody system, there is a economic aspect or advantage to allowing or making a man financially responsible for said child, be it his or, I mean, you got to think about it. When you can't even go back, say you find out sometime later, you can't even get any of that money back. You've been held responsible without a paternity test just to claim. I think that those things, like anything, there should be some room for amendment. But I can see the world kind of going in a path where women are going to be held. I really think that's going to be the next step with this change of alimony laws.
Oh, yeah.
I think that those things are going to come into place, and I would love to see them come into place. And that would make women, I feel like that would be a positive step to making women a lot more responsible for themselves. I mean, they already claim that, hey, they do it by themselves anyways. The fathers are absent. They ain't doing it. A lot of them, I know women that won't even put their baby daddy's own child support, which is, whatever.
I was gonna add something to that too, because you said back child support. I know I'm gonna get flamed for this one. I don't believe you should even get back child support. I believe whenever the woman goes and files child support, that's when the child support starts. Like, let's say you wait 10 years and you never hit this dude up with child support. And I don't know if y'all ever seen this, but they can go, when they go in court and try to file for child support, they give them the option, do you want back child support? Like, they're going to go back in the past and take care of something in the past. I don't think it should be that way. I think whatever day she goes and file, like say if she waits till the kid is like 5 years old and she's like, oh, I'm going to file child support. And they don't catch up with the dude until the kid's 10. I can see that back child support because she went and made it known that she needed support when the kid was 5. If you never file child support and you wait till that kid is 16 years old and hit somebody up for child support and they say, hey, do you want back child support? And they backdated to the kid was 1 year old, I don't think that should be even legal. Like, that don't even make sense to me, because you never established that you needed financial support at that point. So whenever you know, and I have a friend, she went and filed child support and her dude was in the street. They didn't catch up with him until like 3 years later when he finally got a real job and started paying taxes. That I understand. But if you go and file today and then they ask you, hey, do you want back child support because he hasn't paid? No, I don't think you should get it. You should have filed 15, 20 years ago, however, you know, when your kid was first born. That would make sense. So, no, I don't even think you should get back child support under those circumstances. No.
Yeah.
All right.
I
I guess it's my turn. I don't agree. I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be Dave right now.
Wait, I agree
I don't agree. Normally,
about the back child support.
Normally, you the contrarian. So this is my turn. So
That's because I'm more intelligent. But thanks for the
you're
compliment.
not number one.
that wouldn't.
But anyways, I don't agree on principle mostly. I hate the word mandatory. You know, I wear my seatbelt because I want to wear my seatbelt, not because it's mandatory, and I hate that it's mandatory type deal.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terrible logic right there.
It's my logic, so whatever.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, let's hear it.
I don't like if I had a girl, right, or I have a wife and have 2 kids, and if they would have been like, hey, you have to take a mandatory DNA test, like I'd be like, I wouldn't want to do that. Like I don't want someone forcing a mandatory. If you want to take a DNA test and let's say you want to make it free, I think that option should be there if it is free. But just when you're saying that you mandatory have to do this, that's when my libertarian side comes out. I don't want to mandatory have to do things. Basically that. I can't really speak on the whole women out in the streets. Like I said, that's not me. I'm not in the streets like that. I don't know what's going on out there. I don't know if women's out there popping out kids and claiming 16 baby daddies. I have no clue. But I just know if it was me, I got a girl pregnant or I got my wife pregnant or whatever, and they were like, hey, you have to take a DNA test. Like I would have a problem with it. So,
based on what?
Just because you said I have to do it.
So that's a flawed logic.
It's
man.
flawed, but it's my logic. Yeah, we ain't all perfect.
Okay,
So.
at least you admit it.
Would you want your kids to be vaccinated? Did they have to be vaccinated to go to school?
They did have to be vaccinated. Yeah.
Was it mandatory?
But up to you.
No.
Would you want them?
Mm-hmm. It wasn't mandatory for them to go to school, get vaccinated before they went to school?
They have mandatory vaccinations, yes. But
would you want them to?
You talking about the COVID vaccination or are you talking about any vaccination?
No, just any vaccination. Like when they're 3 months, 6 months, a year out, they had to have all these shots and blood drawn and all that stuff, correct?
I think that's more of a herd. Like I guess it's flawed logic. I admit it. But I understand the logic behind why we need mass vaccinations among a population. Like I get that. But the whole DNA test being mandatory, that doesn't help the population. Like it wouldn't help. If I wanted to take care of kids and just be ignorant about it, like I think that's self-responsibility. Like that's my fault. Like that's the equivalent of me going out and drinking and driving or having alcohol period or doing drugs. Like that's me making that decision. If I want to just sign for my kids, or like I said, if it's an option and I want to be responsible, then I have the option to take that DNA test if it's providing it for free. But when you say it's mandatory, that's when I have an issue.
Well, Shaw, you know, accountability for a citizen should always be there, be in effect, because we supposed to be team players. There's a lot of people who don't want to follow the rules, and if everybody ain't trying to follow the rules, a system breaks down in a society.
What does this got to do with me taking responsibility for kids?
You're looking at it like you're looking at it like certain men shouldn't have to be. It shouldn't be mandatory for a man to get a DNA test. It shouldn't be basically mandatory to take a vaccine or whatever. Is what I'm getting from you. You basically saying it should be your right.
I didn't say that. I didn't like. I understand the need for vaccinations and understand why they make it mandatory. I'm not against all mandatory things. I'm against some mandatory things.
Okay.
Maybe that makes me a hypocrite. I own it. I don't care. I had 2 lovely kids I didn't take a DNA test for. I know they're mine. You know what I mean? Like, did you take a DNA test for your kids? You have any issues with it?
No.
Yeah. So like,
if people wanted me to, it should be enforced. I should do it. If she claimed I was the father, but it should be free.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever heard the saying, "Mama's baby, daddy's maybe"?
Yep.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
So that means that mama knows that that's her baby.
Yeah.
Daddy
doesn't know.
Daddy may or may not be that baby.
I don't agree with that saying because I've seen.
You don't have to, but it's obvious.
That's just a factual statement.
But that's a flawed saying. It's not. It's actually independent reasoning.
It's not a flawed statement. It says.
Let me give you an example. If a woman can have a baby, a woman can have a baby and not actually see the baby come out. They could take the baby. And she doesn't know what a baby looks like.
That ain't the same thing.
That happens before.
That's not the same thing.
We don't have.
That's not what it is. You just said that.
Yeah,
What did he say? He just said a mama know what her baby is, right? Or who her baby is.
But if you wanna add a caveat and she had the baby with her.
What do you mean then? What do you mean by that? You lost me.
The mom knows when she gives birth to a baby. Dad,
she knows when she know. Okay, you saying she know when it's coming out the vagina? Why don't you even make a point about that? Obviously, she know a baby coming out of vagina. I thought he was trying to make a point about her identifying who her baby is.
Yeah,
it makes more sense.
If we knock you out, Dave, and say you're a woman, we knock you out, you give birth.
What's the point about making a statement about if the baby coming out? Everybody knows she knows a baby coming out of vagina. So is that your point, Phil? Let's see.
That's the
I know that's his point. Phil, is that what you said? What are you saying that a person's aware that a baby's coming out of their vagina? What would you make a point about that about? Everybody would be in agreement on that.
It's a saying.
It's about identity.
No.
Let me talk. You asked me a question. Let me answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
First off, the saying is older than me and you. So there isn't any debate about it because it goes back to conventional wisdom. To get into rhetoric about this potentiality or this situation is really a waste of all of our times. And it's something I would, as you can tell, I'm a little bit, intolerant of at this point. I know this is all our podcasts or what have you, but if we don't keep it like, just so our followers can follow, let's keep the conversation moving to a point where, we getting somewhere. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe means exactly what it says. The mother realizes that she's pregnant, she's having a baby, it's her baby. There is no question about that. Regardless of whatever situation you're talking about, it's her. A baby comes out of her. It's her baby. However, the father of that baby is always questionable for the simple fact of this topic that we brought up, the paternity test. It's not hard to draw the parallels there. I brought that question. I brought that up to see if anyone had heard that before, because, as you can tell, it has some parallels where there's numerous stories where men who find out through whatever situation. I've heard plenty of stories where the father the child got sick and the father had to donate something, only to come to find out that he can't donate because he doesn't have any DNA. He doesn't have any genetic matching material, saying that he isn't the father. And it isn't just this one child. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, a Jamaican dude chopped off the head of his wife, who had 5 kids, none of them by him. And so, those situations bring about a certain cultural decay where, if we're talking about accountability, that's where that's where that knowledge of would come from. And once again, I think enforce the accountability of the woman, being more responsible with whom she decides to lay down with based off of those, even to the extent that maybe she doesn't get it's going to be a struggle regardless. But us, I was saying before that I really like how this topic ties into our last topic, regarding the, self responsibility, self accountability, and responsibility, because I think that's something that'll help to, there was a point in time in our culture where if you had a baby out of wedlock, your parents might have sent you off somewhere else completely. You were ashamed. You were. Shad talked about mercy killings with the Arab women or what have you, and in their culture. So I'm not saying it has to get to that extreme, but when we acknowledge that, hey, I won't say bastardized children. What's the word I'm trying to say as a euphemism? Children born out of single parent households are at risk for certain things, culturally and socially, that if we make certain adjustments to correcting, then we could bolster our society, bolster our culture to a certain level of appearance or what have you.
Well said, Phil. Well said. Well said. Anybody got anything to say about that?
Let me ask you this. Let me ask y'all this, because I always got a question about these things. What's the next step? So she finds out, all right, she's a single mother, and we all know that there's a welfare system in place. As a taxpayer, we all kind of pay into that. So where it isn't one man that's responsible, now the responsibility is that of the community. And in a culture like today, where single mother parent households are celebrated, you have women who are having, baby reveal parties. No man, don't know who the father is. He ain't in the picture. Bad choice, or what have you, in selecting the father. How should our culture deal with that, as well as, let's just say, government? Dave?
Oh, okay. For basically a single mom situation.
So like you said, her 2 chances are up. She don't know, still ain't figured out who the baby's daddy is.
It's just,
now,
yes.
Is she eligible for full food, full welfare?
No. It's as a society member, we hoped that she be a team player and take care of what she can take care of. Make sure she have her own job or her own source of finances to take care of herself and her child. If she don't have adequate financial stability, then it is the job for the country to step in and help her out. To an extent, of course, the threshold would be, 6 months, let's say welfare or whatever, or even unemployment. And then at that point, if let's say she ain't found a job or whatever, give her an extension. And then let's say at that point, she still, because there are people who just don't want to do what they can do. Then at that point, you put her on, you tell her, we'll help you, but you got to pay this back. And let's say at a threshold, she don't do nothing. She basically just still not trying to do nothing. She's trying to live off of people or the government. Then at that point, you just cut her off. She just would become a member of society who ain't really doing nothing. And the only thing that we expect of her as productive citizen, members of society, is that she don't break no laws. So she could be on the street with her kid if that's what she if that's likely what she gonna end up being anyway. If she don't want to have keep a job or maintain any support for a child, or likely her child going to get taken from her anyway from CPS, and she'll just be, likely a homeless person, that's a freedom. You can be homeless; it ain't against the law. And then we just, as citizens, we just make sure she don't break laws, because then she'll be in jail. And that, I think, as in a nutshell, that's basically what all you can do. Otherwise, you start tapping into her freedoms, and everybody like to have their certain freedoms or whatever. And I'm a person that support freedoms of a person, logical freedoms. So that's my take on that.
I have another question, but I feel like the chat gonna spin the block on me if I answer this question.
Well, let's finish
I want to
talking
hear
about
it.
this one
What about
first before we go to switch to the next question.
It's associated with this one. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm the self-professed socialist of the group. I think civilized societies need social safety nets. We're talking about the percentage of a percentage person that just doesn't want to do anything. But even then, I don't think the kids should suffer from that. I mean, we have all seen firsthand that welfare does work. You might have the parents, both parents, or a single mom might be on welfare. She might be a crackhead, but we've seen their kids make something of themselves, and that's what I look out for. If we can just give them a place to stay and food and take care of needs, not wants, but needs, and give them education so that they can end that cycle of either laziness or just being usefulness, and then they can become better than what their parents were, then I think that's a win for everyone, for our whole society, and for our people.
Agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
think in a utopic society, I'm kind of in the middle, where I feel like we do give the mother, I don't know, not only the opportunity to make something of herself, maybe free classes that'll put her in a workforce that allows her to make a livable income for her and her child. But if she decides, not to do that, then of course we got Section 8, or I wouldn't even say Section 8. I would say, that the original idea of the project tenement, and from that, allow the children with certain social programs to be engaged. I think the issue that we find with children that aren't that don't come out of that, and I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I would like to say that there's more children that come out of there and do good than there are that come out and do bad, although popular media might show otherwise. But we just try to net all of the children and keep them engaged in certain areas of activity. However, when I think about this is something that we're, like you said, Shaw, we're talking about a percentage of people. It is a part of it is these children that become vulnerable to the ills of society and the generational curses, where their lack of say material things not force them but entice them to ascertain those things through ill-gotten means or what have you. And how do we go about addressing that, when of course you got the black market, drugs, violence, crime, whatever.
OnlyFans.
I think that's where.
I'm joking.
What did you say?
What am I?
He said OnlyFans. He said OnlyFans.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. I feel differently about stripping prostitution. That's oldest profession. But yeah, as a father, we wouldn't want that either, right? Especially if you got girls. But I don't know. I think that's where society comes in with a certain view of, when I look at like classical African civilizations, if you didn't subscribe to um, the rules, the laws of the community, then you were exiled, and you were forced to live out in the wild where your rate of survivability was nil. So, to that degree, you you might say, hey, well, our modern society saves those that won't save themselves, but at the same time, we also introduce and we help to like maintain a certain level of society that allows the decay to continue. If you understand my meaning. So, at what point are we helping and hurting ourselves, and to what degree are we saying that okay, we're actually helping to hurt ourselves, but it's just a little bit, so it's okay. You see what I'm saying? Y'all feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me speak on that, Phil. So if a country lay a faulty foundation, then the superstructure or the things that are supposed to form from that will likely be faulty too, or unstable. So, for example, in our society, we got religion. Faulty. That's a faulty foundation in our society. Uh, Drama just keep happening because of that. That ain't, and it's not backed up by anything logical. So that's just one example.
I would counter that our specific society, the United States of America, is not founded on religion.
No, I'm just saying that's just. I know it's not founded on religion. I should have said that's an extension of a faulty foundation. I should. So let me rephrase that. But so what actually has been founded, from what I know about our country, that's faulty, is that we give states some of the wrong rights. Okay, and so this is why some states can have a logical policy, and another state could be fucking the complete opposite, an illogical policy. Like, for example, abortion in some states it's legal. In some states it's not, like in Texas. And between the two, on that one specific point, one is more logical for a woman to have a right to. And in my opinion, which is also based on facts, I'm just saying this in my opinion because I'm speaking, a woman should have a right to abort. Okay. And so that's just an example of one element that's an extension of a faulty foundation. Also, the Bill of Rights, some of the amendments, some of the rights that we have in the Constitution, those should be changed. Some of them should be kicked out altogether. One in particular, the gun rights, that thing should be not necessarily kicked out, but it should be changed. Because I'm a person that I understand the purpose of a gun in a world that has guns. But if I had my way, no one on the planet would have guns. But that's not a reality or whatever. But anyway, so like just to sum it up from what you were saying, Phil, and speaking on what your point was, we basically have to start off with a logical base foundation, and it is easier to continue that trend instead of starting off with a faulty base where for some reason people believe it is logical to them, and then everything that stems from that is chaotic or whatever. So it's important for us to have a strong base of understanding about certain things in society. So that's my take.
Anybody else?
I had a question, but I'm kind of scared to answer this question. But
Like,
it kind of
just
goes.
answer.
We gonna
about
run
what-
over time.
Just
we
ask
over
the
time
question,
right now.
nigga.
we can leave on this because David brought
Ask
up
the
something about
question.
abortion. Since a man doesn't have any authority over a woman and her body, say the woman decides that she wants to have the baby and the man says he doesn't. Should he be held liable for anything after that if he decides that he doesn't want it?
Wait, say it again.
Like, a man can't tell a woman, I mean, he can tell her, but he can't force a woman to get an abortion or to have the baby. So if the woman decides she wants to keep the baby and the guy says, hey, I don't want to have any kids with you, should he be held liable? Should he be held responsible for paying child support if he decided, I don't want to have a kid with you?
Yeah, he should be
I don't
liable.
think he should, because
You said you don't think he should?
Well, I'll let Phil
No.
speak and then I'll speak. Go,
for
Phil.
the same fact that the same way a woman can have a child, with IVF or any other method, adopt, and a man not be a part of that, and there's no man that's held responsible. That's her choice. I think we have to look at consenting, the role of consenting adults. We know what I don't think that the way that our society is now with sex being as liberal as it is now, there is no agreement to the welfare of the outcome of sex. But that's kind of what our legislation charges men with. Whereas it might have just been, a one-hit acquitted thing. So yeah, no, in that regard, I do think it's the woman's responsibility ultimately for the fact that you brought up about, just like she can't have, just like no one can tell her what to do with her body. The same thing would be fair for the man. No one can tell him what to do with his time, money, body, so forth.
So Phil, you saying the man shouldn't be held accountable? Because that was what the question was. Part of it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My take is I think the man should be accountable. Now you made a good point earlier, Phil, by saying that in certain arrangements, like if a woman want to get pregnant by an unknown, like a sperm donor, that particular arrangement, I completely agree, because that's already pre-established or whatever to be that type of arrangement. But if a man and a woman decides to have sex, it is not the potential baby that's gonna be born. It is not its fault that it's being born by those two parents. Therefore, it has the right to be cared for by both parents or whatever. So let's say the man have sex with the woman, but he realized he don't like the woman, and she like, oh, well, I'm pregnant. And like, well, I can't stand you. I don't want to have nothing to do with that baby. It's too late. It's his fault. The baby is being born, 50% of his fault, along with hers. So the baby has the right, and I'm speaking for the rights of the baby. So if the woman wants to go and say, well, I'm going to put you down as my dad, let's say they do the DNA test, which is what me and Oscar agree with, and it turns out he is the dad, yes, you finna pay what you need to pay to help sustain that baby. It's not the baby's fault that it was born, but it is the burden of the parents to take care of that baby, because that right there, if you don't have parents who can't have accountability and don't know how to be responsible, that would definitely break up a society. Break it down quick, because you have a lot of illegitimate children growing up mad as hell. Like, I could use that excuse, but I would never do it, because my daddy did me like that before I was born. Told my mama to her face that I wasn't his. This literally happened. And, of course, I don't give a fuck about what he do nowadays or whatever. I don't hold him accountable. But my mama, if there was a law that enforced him to be accountable, she should have made sure that, he was accountable or whatever. And the law should have enforced that. So I think a man should be enforced to be accountable if he have sex with that woman and the DNA show that he is the father. But in that arrangement, not the arrangement about, what you mentioned earlier, Phil, about, a sperm donor.
Well, the reason I ask this question is because where I work at, a woman can have a baby, and then if she decides to just drop it off at the hospital, drop it off at the fire station, she's not held accountable for it.
So, I agree with that too.
Okay, so if she has the baby, they do the DNA test, he's got to pay child support, and all of a sudden she wants to drop the baby off, safe harbor, bring it up to the fire station, bring it up to the hospital, and leave it. She's not going to be held accountable.
Well, he shouldn't either then. Yeah, he shouldn't either, because the baby is now in the guardianship of the state, right? Is what you're saying?
Yes, but if he comes up there and tries to get the baby, guess what they're going to do?
Oh, yeah, he should be accountable. You say what?
He can't even come up there and just get the baby. He's going to have to fight to get rights to the baby and all this extra stuff. So I look at it like it's kind of crazy that you can just go and drop your baby off and not be held responsible for it, but you're holding somebody else responsible for it.
Well,
like
that should just be
equal on both sides. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But if you can just come and drop your baby off and they're not gonna hold you responsible for it, why can't the other person do the same thing?
He can, but if he want the baby,
you know,
what'd you say?
Once she has the baby, he's gonna be held responsible regardless on if he wants the baby. Huh?
Oh, you mean after like they determined he was the father?
Yeah, like if the woman has the baby, the guy's gonna be held responsible regardless if he wants to be there or if he doesn't want to be there.
Okay.
If she decides all of a sudden, you know what, I don't want to have a baby, I want to get a baby up for adoption, she won't have to worry about a thing. If she has the baby and says, okay, I do want to have a baby, but then she hasn't changed her mind, she can bring it to the fire station. She can bring it to the hospital.
Well, both parents though. Huh? But I think both parents should be able to do that. I mean, to give up the baby because you're doing it in the best intentions. Well, I'm just saying this is what I agree with. It should be both.
One at a time, one at a time.
Okay, yeah, he has no decision in that whatsoever. If she decides
to agree with that, yeah.
And that's my issue. That's why I bring up the question or whatever. If she's able to just go someplace and go wash her hands with the situation, and she's not going to be held responsible for it, she don't have to pay child support. She doesn't have to do anything else. Where she can just literally come up there. The baby's in good health, and she drops the baby off. She can leave. They're not going to ask her any questions. She can walk off.
It should be the same for him too. Then also,
okay,
yeah.
That becomes my issue with the whole thing. With if you choose, like, because a guy doesn't have any authority over the woman's body whatsoever. So if she says, "Hey, I want to have a baby," or "I don't want to have a baby," he has no decision in it. If he says, "Yes, I want you to have a baby," and she like, "Nah, I'm gonna have an abortion," he has no decision in it. If she says, "Yes, I want to have a baby," and he's like, "Well, I don't want you to," she's gonna have a baby. Anything after that, if she decides to go drop the baby off somewhere, he has to now go and fight for the baby. He can't just go pick, hey, my wife came up or my girlfriend came up here and dropped off our kid. I'm here to pick the kid up. This literally just happened to me the other day when I was in the hospital. I was like, wait a minute, this dude can't even get his own baby because she's the primary custodian or whatever of the kid, and they got to do all this extra stuff or whatever. And I'm feeling kind of sad because the kid clinging to the daddy like, no, I don't want to stay with these people. So you obviously knew that kid, knew that dude or whatever. So he was like, man, this is my kid. I'm not going to leave it up here because my baby mama crazy. I'm like, that's craziness. So that's the reason I asked that question.
Yeah.
That's
bad policy then.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to start by saying this. But I think it's weird as this sounds, I think it's a deal with the meanings of words. I think when you have a baby out of wedlock, right, and you're just paying child support and you don't have custody of that baby, you're just financially liable for the child support. You're not responsible for the kid. The mother is responsible, and she gets the child support, the liability from you. So she has the option to drop that baby off or whatever. But if you have shared custody of that baby, like if you're 50-50 or whatever, then she can't do that. You can legally go pick that baby up.
Yeah.
This is another one of those.
You just get ran through a bunch trying to pick them up because I saw that too. I was like, really?
It is. I mean,
it's just terrible policy that they got.
There's probably a reason why they would have these checks and balances to make it hard to just pick up a kid. I kind of understand why a hospital or a fire station would do that, because what if they gave the baby to the wrong person? You know what I mean? And then they can get sued by the mother that wants to come, as silly as it is, the mother that wants to come get her kid back because she changed her mind. And then, no, we gave this baby to so-and-so. And they'd be like, who is that? Boom, lawsuit.
Well, I know in adoptions, you normally have like a 24-hour period where when you put the child up for adoption and it's no takebacks. So I would assume or presume that if you did something like that at a hospital, that that would be the standing policy as well. I look at it from the standpoint of this, we talk about the 80-20 rule where, there's these men that are having a majority of the babies with, the mothers or what have you. And when you look at it like financially, the financial efficacy of, these men being able to support child support, being able to support monetarily these multiple women and children. I'm not really seeing how, unless these are only so many of them are going to be one percenters and able to take care of children like that. So for me, it all goes back to placing the responsibility at the end, the end stop or what have you, which are, women. Yeah, I feel like men, we must protect our seeds. We are the culture protectors. And we definitely have a role to play in the society that's come about. But at the same time, like I say, that gateway, is womaned by the mother, of course, and based on certain circumstances, it could be a lot harder than it necessarily has to be. I don't know, man. I would like to see some reforms in a lot of those sectors, though. I think it would be good for our culture, as we're discussing.
I agree.
Well,
You know what, Sonny? The question that comes to me is, when you see all of these men in legislation, in the political arena, why isn't there more laws that kind of protect men in this arena? Does that
are there
Yeah.
more women voters in America than there are men?
yeah, who know? I'm sure along some demographics, I would think so, because there's more women than there are men, right?
Yeah. So that's
Um,
you gotta
Women
you gotta
running.
realize when you talk about legislation, most people legislate to keep their seat. So
yeah.
go ahead and piss off a
Basically,
bunch of women and
whoever
lose that woman vote. See if you still
the highest bidder.
eating good in Washington D.C.
So, I would agree with that. But you look at Donald Trump. Case in point, you would think that he pissed off a lot of women, but we saw a lot of women vote against their own interests. So, I'm wondering.
Bro, there's women out there
Uh,
trying to end women's suffrage. So
Yeah.
You just got a lot of idiots out there.
yeah, a bunch of pygmies.
Do
All right.
women have to sign up for selective service?
No,
No.
I think that should change.
Yeah.
just for
if you
simple.
get the vote, I think you should have to sign up. Huh?
I mean, well, now that they're accepted into combat roles,
Mhm.
like they can be infantry or special forces or whatever. So I think once that changed, then boom, they should be selective service also. I mean, we have a all volunteer army anyways. Like, what's it hurting? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
anything else, guys? I think we're getting a little.
Yeah.
Running
Running save it
long.
for the next one.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and hit this applause. Can y'all hear that applause? It's playing on my end, so it's recorded. All right, well.
That's so cheesy. That's super cheesy.
Did y'all hear the other one that I played?
Come on, y'all.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode 2 of the Reflection Connection podcast. We got myself, Rashad. We got David, Oscar, and Phil. I appreciate y'all coming by. We're going to do this again with some more interesting topics. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and fade this out. All right, y'all?
All right, man.
I'll check y'all later.
All right, man. Y'all take it
Hey,
easy.
y'all have a good one, man.
Peace.
Dude. Hey, that's